Have you ever felt that life becomes heavier not because of the problems you face, but because your mind keeps returning to the same thoughts again and again, until even small worries start feeling bigger than they truly are? In this audiobook, we will explore how shifting your attention from fear toward clarity helps you rebuild calm thinking, emotional balance, and the confidence to approach every challenge with a solution-focused mind. Chapter 1. Why focusing on problems makes life harder. When you repeatedly think about what's going wrong, your mind begins to amplify the situation, turning small challenges into emotional weight that slowly drains your energy. This mental pressure doesn't come from the problem itself, but from the way your thoughts circle around it without offering relief or direction. A problem-focused mindset trains your brain to search for danger, and once this habit forms, even neutral moments start feeling uncomfortable because your mind has become conditioned to expect difficulty. This expectation quietly shapes your mood, your reactions, and your ability to stay steady under stress. Overthinking gives the illusion that you are preparing yourself, but in reality, it blocks the clarity needed to actually move forward. When the same thought loops repeatedly, your emotional system stays active for too long, and this constant activation makes decision-making harder, patience shorter, and peace almost unreachable. You might notice that the more you think about the problem, the more helpless you begin to feel. This is because your brain shifts from "what can I do" to "what if things get worse?" And that shift makes life feel heavier than it needs to be. Fear grows in the space where clarity is missing. But the truth is simple. Problems are not the issue. The issue is giving them more attention than they deserve. When your focus stays locked on what hurts, you lose sight of the steps that can actually help you heal, grow, or solve the problem with calm thinking. The first gentle step toward change is awareness. When you recognize that your mind is slipping into a stressful loop, you create a small distance between yourself and your thoughts. In that distance, your emotions soften, your breathing becomes steadier, and solutions begin to feel possible again. By slowing down, even slightly, you give your mind the space it needs to think clearly. In that clarity, you realize that most problems are not permanent walls. They are temporary stops that feel bigger only when your mind keeps magnifying them. When you allow yourself to shift focus from "why is this happening to me?" to "what can I do with this?" the emotional weight reduces. You regain control of your inner space, and that control becomes the foundation for calm, solution-based living. When a problem stays in your mind for too long, it becomes difficult to see the situation clearly. Your thoughts start mixing actual concerns with fears and assumptions, and this creates a mental pressure that feels heavier than the real issue. Instead of understanding the situation, the mind keeps repeating the same thought until it becomes emotionally exhausting. As this cycle continues, simple decisions start feeling complicated. Your thoughts move quickly, yet none of them feel helpful. This confusion is not because the problem is too big. It happens because your mind is overwhelmed and tired. When the mind is tired, clarity becomes hard to reach, and even routine tasks feel like effort. Remaining focused on the problem also activates the body's stress system. Your brain starts scanning for danger, even when nothing serious is happening. This constant alertness drains your emotional energy and reduces your patience. Small triggers begin to feel heavy because you are already carrying the weight of unresolved thoughts. Over time, this pattern affects how you see yourself. You may start doubting your strength, even though you have faced many challenges before. The problem remains the same, but your trust in your ability becomes weaker. When belief weakens, even manageable situations feel intimidating. Another subtle effect is the way the mind begins imagining negative outcomes. These imagined scenarios feel real because the brain reacts to thoughts almost the same way it reacts to reality. This increases stress and makes the problem appear larger, even though nothing new has happened. But the moment you notice that your mind is slipping into this loop, you already create a small shift. Awareness gives you space to step back and observe your thoughts instead of getting pulled into them. In that pause, your emotions calm down, your breathing steadies, and the situation becomes slightly clearer. You don't need to erase every negative thought. You only need to redirect your attention towards something useful, asking simple questions like, "What can I actually control here?" can help the mind relax and focus. When the mind feels safe, it naturally begins seeing options instead of obstacles. With gentle practice, the same situation starts feeling lighter, not because the problem changed, but because your approach changed. A calm mind can find solutions that a stressed mind cannot, and when clarity returns, confidence follows. Slowly, you begin realizing that most challenges are manageable when approached with steady, solution-focused thinking. Chapter 2. How to shift your mind toward solutions. Shifting your mind from problems to solutions begins with something simple. Understanding that attention is your strongest internal tool. Wherever your attention goes, your emotions follow. If your attention stays on fear, the mind becomes tense. If it moves toward clarity, the mind starts relaxing. This shift does not require sudden change. It requires gentle redirection. One of the first steps is learning to pause before reacting. Most people jump into stress the moment something goes wrong, and this quick reaction blocks the ability to think clearly. A short pause creates space. In that space, your mind can settle enough to observe what is actually happening instead of exaggerating the situation. Even a few calm breaths quietly reset your emotional state. Another important step is separating facts from thoughts. Problems often feel bigger because the mind mixes reality with imagination. When you ask yourself, "What is the real issue here?" the noise begins to reduce. Most of the time, the real issue is smaller than what the mind is repeating. This small realization makes solutions easier to notice. Shifting towards solutions also requires understanding what you can control and what you cannot. Many people feel overwhelmed because they spend energy on things that are outside their influence. When you focus only on what is within your control, your actions, your decisions, your response, the mind becomes lighter. This clarity helps you conserve emotional energy and directs it where it actually matters. Another gentle technique is reframing the situation. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What can I do next?" This subtle change in language shifts your mind from feeling powerless to feeling capable. Reframing does not ignore the difficulty. It simply removes unnecessary emotional weight so the mind can think more freely. It is also helpful to understand that solutions rarely appear when the mind is tense. A calm state allows you to see patterns, options, and steps that were hidden earlier. When you intentionally slow your thinking, even for a short moment, you create the mental room needed for clarity to emerge. This calmness does not solve the problem by itself, but it prepares you to solve it effectively. Small steps play a big role in shifting towards solutions. When you break the situation into simple, manageable steps, the pressure reduces and progress becomes achievable. Each step builds confidence, and that confidence makes the next step easier. Over time, this approach becomes a mindset rather than a technique. You begin naturally looking for possibilities instead of problems. You start understanding that challenges are part of life, but they don't need to control your emotional state. With consistent practice, your mind learns to stay steady even when things feel uncertain. As you continue learning how to shift your mind toward solutions, one important realization emerges. The mind becomes what it practices. If it practices worry, worry becomes automatic. If it practices clarity, clarity becomes natural. This change doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you choose to guide your focus with intention instead of letting it move freely toward fear. One of the most effective ways to strengthen this shift is by noticing the first thought that appears when a problem arises. Usually the mind jumps to, "What will go wrong?" or "Why is this happening now?" These thoughts feel automatic because the mind has practiced them for years. But when you gently redirect that first thought toward, "What can I do about this?" the entire emotional tone changes. You move from panic to direction. Another helpful practice is grounding yourself in the present moment. Many stressful thoughts come from imagining the future or replaying the past. When you bring your awareness back to the present, your breathing, your surroundings, your body, you create steadiness. In that steadiness, thinking becomes clear because the mind is no longer fighting imagined scenarios. Problems are solved in the present, not in fear-driven imagination. It also helps to remind yourself that not every difficulty needs an immediate answer. Some situations simply require patience, observation, or time. When you release the pressure to fix everything instantly, the mind relaxes. A relaxed mind often finds answers naturally, without force. This gentle patience becomes a valuable tool for anyone who wants to think in a solution-focused way. Another step is learning to choose your emotional responses. You may not control what happens, but you can choose how you want to feel while facing it. When you choose calmness, even slightly, you prevent the problem from controlling your inner world. This emotional choice gives you strength, stability, and a clearer view of the options in front of you. Small affirming thoughts also support the shift. Telling yourself things like, "I can handle this," or "I will figure it out step by step," gives your mind a sense of direction. These thoughts are not empty phrases. They create a psychological anchor that keeps you grounded when emotions rise. A grounded mind naturally sees solutions that a fearful mind misses. With consistent practice, you begin noticing a meaningful change. Problems still appear because life brings challenges, but your mind approaches them with more balance. Instead of reacting instantly, you think, pause, and choose your next step with intention. This calm, thoughtful response is the heart of solution-focused thinking. It strengthens your mind, protects your peace, and guides you forward with confidence. Chapter 3. Understanding what's actually in your control. Many people feel stressed because they try to manage things that were never in their hands. When the mind holds responsibilities it cannot complete, everything begins to feel heavy. Even small problems start looking bigger, and simple moments lose their calm. But the moment you understand what truly belongs to you, life becomes lighter. Control in life is simpler than it seems. You can control your actions, your choices, your effort, and your attitude. These areas always respond to you. You can influence some situations through communication, support, and honesty, but you cannot fully shape the outcome. And then there are things that must be accepted. These include timing, other people's decisions, and events that unfold beyond your reach. Most mental pressure comes from mixing these three areas. When you try to change someone's behavior, frustration grows. When you try to control the future, anxiety grows. When you try to fix the past, sadness grows. But when you focus on the actions you can take right now, your thinking begins to settle. You feel grounded again because your mind is working inside its real boundaries. Every small step taken within your control builds inner strength. These steps remind you that stability comes from clarity, not from controlling everything. Confidence grows quietly when you make decisions with intention instead of fear. You begin trusting your ability to handle challenges because your focus is on what you can actually do. This mindset also protects your emotions. You stop reacting to every situation with the same intensity. You learn which moments deserve a response and which moments need silence. Pressure reduces because your attention is no longer scattered. With a calmer mind, solutions become easier to see. A helpful question to ask is, what part of this is mine? This question brings immediate clarity. It separates real responsibility from imagined responsibility. It reminds you that not every situation needs your full emotional weight. Some moments only require patience. Some require action. Some require acceptance. With practice, you begin seeing a change in yourself. You no longer feel drained by things you cannot control. You stop carrying other people's choices on your shoulders. You stop blaming yourself for outcomes that were never in your hands. Your emotional space becomes clearer and lighter. Understanding control does not remove challenges, but it strengthens you from the inside. When you know what belongs to you, you move with stability. You think better, you respond better, and you live with a calmer state of mind. When you start applying this understanding in daily life, you notice how much peace it brings. Many stressful moments lose their intensity because you no longer try to manage everything at once. You focus only on what truly belongs to you, and that focus brings stability. A helpful way to practice this mindset is to slow down your first reaction. When something unexpected happens, the mind wants to jump into fear or frustration. But if you pause for a moment, your thoughts settle. In that short pause, you can see the situation more clearly. You understand what part is yours and what part is not. Another useful habit is setting emotional boundaries. Not every situation deserves your full attention. Not every comment needs a reaction. Not every problem requires your energy. When you learn to protect your inner space, your mind stops following every small disturbance. You stay centered, even when things around you are not perfect. You also begin to notice how often stress comes from trying to change others, their moods, their choices, their timing. But when you release that responsibility, you save a huge amount of emotional strength. You stop trying to fix things that were never in your control. You allow people to carry their own decisions, while you focus on your own clarity. Understanding control also teaches patience. Some things need time, not pressure. Some results appear slowly. Some answers come after silence. When you stop forcing outcomes, life feels softer. You no longer fight the natural flow of events. You move with it, step by step. This mindset makes your thinking cleaner. You think about what you can do today instead of worrying about everything that might happen later. You think about choices instead of fears. You think about effort instead of outcomes. These small shifts create a calm mental environment where solutions appear naturally. As you practice this again and again, your confidence grows quietly. You trust yourself more. You rely on your ability to respond wisely. You stop judging yourself for things outside your influence. You start appreciating your strengths, and you move through challenges with a steadier heart. When you understand control deeply, life becomes less stressful. Not because the problems disappear, but because you face them with clarity instead of confusion. You know what belongs to you. You know what does not. And with that understanding, you walk through life with a calmer, stronger mindset. Chapter 4. Stopping the cycle of stress and overthinking. Overthinking often begins quietly. A small worry appears, and the mind holds onto it for too long. The thought repeats, details increase, fear grows. Soon the mind is trapped in a loop that feels endless. This loop creates pressure, and that pressure becomes stress. Most people do not notice the first moment when stress starts. The mind reacts quickly, and before you even understand what is happening, your thoughts begin running ahead of reality. You imagine outcomes that are not happening. You prepare for problems that do not exist. The mind tries to protect you, but it ends up tiring you. Breaking this cycle starts with awareness. Notice when your thoughts begin to speed up. Notice when your breathing becomes tight. Notice when a simple thought starts turning into a story. The moment you notice it, pause. A short pause can interrupt the entire pattern. It slows the emotional noise and brings you back into the present moment. Another important step is to question your thoughts gently. Ask yourself, is this real right now? Overthinking mostly lives in the future or the past. The present moment is usually calmer than the story your mind is creating. When you come back to the present, your body relaxes. Your thoughts soften. Your focus returns. Simplifying the situation also helps. When a thought becomes too big, break it down. Look at what is actually happening, not what your mind fears might happen. The real issue is often much smaller and easier to handle. This reduces emotional pressure and clears space for better decisions. Changing your physical state can also break the loop. Stress grows quickly when you sit still with your thoughts. Stand up. Stretch. Walk for a few minutes. Drink water. These simple actions send a signal of safety to your mind. A mind that feels safe thinks more clearly. It is also helpful to set a boundary for how long you think about a problem. Thinking beyond a certain point does not bring answers. It only creates more tension. When you set a limit, you protect your mental space. You prevent your mind from going deeper into unnecessary fear. Over time, you begin to notice that thoughts lose their power when you do not hold them tightly. They pass, they fade, they change. You do not need to chase every thought. You can choose which thoughts deserve attention and which ones can be allowed to leave without a reaction. As you grow in this practice, your mind becomes calmer. You stop jumping to the worst-case scenario. You stop feeding fear. You stop exhausting yourself with thoughts that lead nowhere. Instead, you learn to stay grounded, present, and steady. And in that steady state, solutions become visible again. As you learn to slow down your thoughts, you begin to understand something important. The mind creates most of its stress from fear, not from facts. Fear imagines many possibilities. Facts usually hold only one. When you separate fear from reality, your thoughts become lighter. One helpful way to reduce overthinking is to focus on what is happening right now. Most stressful thoughts pull you into the future. They show you outcomes that have not happened. They push you toward decisions you are not ready for. But when you return to the present, your mind becomes calmer because the present moment is rarely as heavy as your imagination. Another step is giving yourself permission to not have all the answers immediately. Overthinking grows when you force your mind to solve everything at once. But life does not work in one big solution. It works through steady steps. When you accept this, your mind stops rushing. It settles. It allows clarity to arrive naturally. It also helps to speak to yourself gently during stressful moments. Tell yourself, I can handle this step by step. This simple reassurance relaxes the nervous system. It reminds your mind that it does not need to panic. Calm thoughts grow when the mind feels supported, not pressured. You can also reduce overthinking by creating small mental boundaries. Decide how much space you will give to a thought. If a thought keeps returning, ask yourself, is thinking more about this helping me? Most of the time, the answer is no. This question saves your energy and guides your focus toward what actually matters. Another technique is grounding your senses. Notice the sound around you. Notice how your body feels. Notice your breathing. These simple observations break the loop of constant thinking. The mind cannot panic and observe at the same time. Observation brings calm automatically. You will also notice that your environment influences your thoughts. A messy space creates a messy mind. A restless mind feeds overthinking. Changing small things in your environment, like light, movement, or posture, can shift your mental state. Calm surroundings create calm thinking. As you improve at interrupting overthinking, your mind starts learning a new pattern. It stops reacting immediately. It starts checking the thought first. It asks, is this real? Is this useful? Is this mine? These questions protect your peace. They prevent you from falling into the same cycle again. With time, you begin trusting your own ability to stay calm. You stop fearing your thoughts. You stop letting your imagination control your emotions. You start seeing that your mind can be trained to move slowly, think clearly, and respond wisely. When overthinking loses its grip, you feel more present in your life. You enjoy conversations more. You rest better. You think with intention. And in that clarity, solutions that once felt distant begin to appear naturally. Chapter 5. Handling difficult people without losing yourself. Difficult people are a part of life. You meet them at work, at home, and even in daily routines. You cannot avoid every difficult person, but you can learn how to protect your peace when you deal with them. The key is not to change them. The key is to stay stable inside yourself. The first step is understanding that their behavior is not about you. People act from their own fears, stress, habits, and unresolved issues. When someone speaks harshly, it usually reflects their inner state, not your worth. This awareness protects you from taking everything personally. Another step is to create emotional distance. Emotional distance does not mean silence or walking away. It means not allowing their words to enter your mind. You listen, but you do not absorb. You see their behavior, but you do not make it part of your identity. This protects your energy. It also helps to keep your responses simple. When you react emotionally, the situation becomes heavier. But when you respond calmly, you stay in control. A steady tone is more powerful than a loud voice. A thoughtful pause is stronger than an angry reaction. Calmness is your shield. Boundaries are also important. You can choose how much access people have to your emotions. You can limit conversations. You can change your environment. You can protect your space. Boundaries are not rude. Boundaries are clarity. They show where your peace begins and where their influence ends. Another helpful practice is not trying to win every interaction. Some people do not want understanding. They want control. Some people do not want clarity. They want conflict. When you stop trying to fix them, you save your energy. Your job is not to change their nature. Your job is to protect your own. It also helps to observe patterns. Difficult people often repeat the same behavior. Once you recognize the pattern, you stop being surprised by it. You prepare your mind. You decide your response in advance. Preparation reduces emotional pressure and keeps your thinking clear. You can also choose silence when needed. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength used wisely. Not every moment needs a reply. Not every comment deserves energy. When you choose silence in the right moment, you guide the situation toward calm instead of conflict. With time, you learn that you can stay centered even when others are not. Their mood does not control your mood. Their anger does not create your anger. Their chaos does not disturb your balance. You learn to stand firm inside yourself. Handling difficult people is not about changing them. It is about strengthening your own peace. When you stay calm, you think clearly. When you think clearly, you act wisely. And when you act wisely, you protect the stability of your inner world. When you understand difficult people more deeply, you start noticing something important. Their behavior often reflects their inner struggle. Some people speak harshly because they feel unheard. Some react quickly because they feel unsafe. Some criticize because they fear being judged. Seeing this softens your emotional response and helps you stay centered. One helpful approach is to observe without reacting. When someone raises their voice or behaves unfairly, step back mentally. Notice the tone. Notice the words. Notice your own breathing. This small moment of awareness stops the situation from pulling you into their emotional state. You stay grounded instead of getting dragged into conflict. Another useful practice is controlling the volume of your inner dialogue. Difficult people can trigger thoughts that spiral quickly. Why did they say this? What did I do wrong? How do I fix this? These thoughts create unnecessary tension. Instead, remind yourself that you do not need to solve their emotions. You only need to stay balanced. Clear communication also helps. Speak with calm, simple statements. Express your boundaries respectfully. You do not need long explanations. Calm clarity is more effective than emotional arguments. When your tone stays steady, you guide the interaction instead of reacting to it. You can also protect yourself by limiting emotional exposure. Spend less time in conversations that drain you. Change the topic when you feel tension rising. Keep distance where needed. Your peace is more valuable than winning an argument. Your energy is more important than proving a point. It is also useful to accept that some people will not change, no matter how kind or patient you are. This acceptance brings freedom. You stop expecting different behavior. You stop getting surprised. You stop attaching your emotions to their reactions. Acceptance creates emotional maturity. Another important skill is recognizing when to leave a conversation. When someone is not ready to listen, continuing the discussion only adds stress. Walking away calmly is not disrespectful. It is wise. It shows that you value peace more than conflict. As you practice these habits, you become less reactive. You stay calm when others lose their balance. You choose your tone instead of mirroring theirs. You protect your space instead of letting their emotions shape your day. This quiet strength becomes part of your personality. In time, you realize that handling difficult people is not about fighting them. It is about managing yourself. It is about keeping your mind steady. It is about knowing what deserves your energy and what does not. And when you master this, you move through life with confidence, even around people who try to pull you into chaos. Chapter 6. Turning everyday challenges into growth. Everyday challenges often look small from the outside, but they carry weight inside the mind. A delay, a mistake, a disagreement, or an unexpected task can change your mood quickly. These moments seem minor, yet they influence your thoughts, energy, and emotional balance. But within these small challenges, there is a hidden opportunity for growth. The first step is to view challenges as a part of life, not as interruptions. When you fight every difficulty, your mind becomes tired. But when you accept that challenges appear naturally, your response becomes softer. You stop asking, "Why is this happening?" and start asking, "How can I handle this better?" This shift opens the door for personal growth. Another helpful approach is to stay curious instead of frustrated. Curiosity changes the meaning of the moment. Instead of feeling stuck, your mind becomes open. You explore options. You take small steps. You learn something new. Curiosity turns pressure into awareness, and awareness into improvement. It also helps to notice how you talk to yourself during tough moments. Harsh thoughts make challenges heavier. Supportive thoughts make challenges manageable. When you tell yourself, "I can work through this," your mind gains strength. Gentle inner dialogue builds resilience far more than negative self-talk ever could. Breaking challenges into smaller tasks also reduces stress. A big problem feels intimidating. A small step feels achievable. When you divide the situation into simple actions, your mind calms down. You stop feeling overwhelmed and start feeling capable. Small progress often leads to big change. Another important part of growth is reflection. After a challenge passes, pause and ask yourself, "What did this teach me?" Every experience teaches something: patience, timing, communication, boundaries, or self-control. When you recognize the lesson, The challenge becomes valuable instead of draining. You can also use challenges to strengthen emotional balance. When you stay calm in difficult moments, you train your mind. You teach yourself that pressure does not control you. You learn how to stand steady even when things feel uncertain. This inner steadiness becomes one of your strongest personal qualities. Over time, you begin seeing that challenges were never blocking your path. They were shaping your character. They made you more patient. They made you more aware. They made you stronger from within. Every tough moment added something to you, even if you didn't notice at the time. When you approach life with this mindset, everyday challenges stop feeling like enemies. They become teachers. They become steps toward growth. And with each challenge handled calmly, your confidence grows quietly, guiding you toward a more stable and solution-focused life. One powerful way to grow through challenges is to stay aware of your emotional state. Many people react before they understand what they are feeling. A sudden rise in frustration or fear can push you into choices you later regret. But when you notice the emotion early, you gain control over your response. Awareness gives you room to choose wisely. Another helpful approach is learning to breathe through pressure. Slow breathing sends a signal of safety to the mind. It reduces intensity. It slows your thoughts. It gives you a steady base to think from. When your body is calm, your mind becomes clearer. This clarity helps you see options you could not see before. It also helps to avoid exaggerating the challenge. The mind often makes situations bigger than they are. A small delay becomes a crisis. A simple comment feels like an attack. A normal mistake becomes proof of failure. When you catch your mind exaggerating, remind yourself to return to facts. Facts are softer than fear. Another part of growth is allowing yourself to be human. You will make mistakes. You will have off days. You will feel pressure. Growth does not require perfection. It requires honesty. When you accept your flaws gently, you learn faster because you stop wasting energy on guilt or self-judgment. Using challenges as feedback also supports growth. Every difficulty shows you something: what triggers you, what drains you, what motivates you, and what supports your peace. When you observe these patterns, you understand yourself better. And when you understand yourself better, your choices improve naturally. Developing patience is another important skill. Most challenges require time, not force. When you allow situations to unfold step by step, the pressure reduces. You stop rushing for solutions. You stop feeling defeated by small delays. Patience turns challenges into manageable experiences instead of overwhelming ones. You can also reframe difficult moments by asking, "What is this trying to teach me right now?" This simple question changes your relationship with stress. Instead of resisting the moment, you learn from it. Instead of shutting down, you open up. This attitude makes even the toughest days meaningful. With consistent practice, you start to see that growth is happening quietly. You react differently. You recover faster. You stay calm in situations that once made you anxious. You speak more clearly. You think more slowly. You choose more wisely. These small shifts create long-term strength. Eventually, you begin to trust challenges instead of fearing them. You understand that every difficult moment carries a lesson. Every lesson builds your character, and every bit of character makes the next challenge easier to handle. In this way, growth becomes a natural part of your daily life. Chapter 7. Building the confidence to solve problems. Confidence is not something that appears suddenly. It grows slowly through small actions, steady decisions, and moments where you choose courage over fear. Many people think confidence is a personality trait, but it is actually a skill. And like any skill, it becomes stronger when you practice it daily. The first step is understanding that confidence comes from evidence. When you take a small step and succeed, your mind remembers it. This memory becomes proof that you can handle challenges. The more proof you collect, the stronger your confidence becomes. It grows quietly, but it grows consistently. Another important part of confidence is the way you speak to yourself. If your inner voice is harsh, you will always feel weak. But if your inner voice is supportive, you feel capable. Simple thoughts like, "I can try," or "I can handle this," change the way your mind reacts to pressure. Gentle self-talk builds strength from inside. Confidence also grows when you stop waiting for perfect conditions. Many people delay action because they want the right moment, but the right moment rarely appears. When you take action anyway, even with fear, your mind learns that you are stronger than your hesitation. Every imperfect step makes you more confident. Another helpful practice is facing small discomforts intentionally. When you try something slightly difficult, your comfort zone expands. You become less afraid of the unknown. You become less controlled by doubt. Each small challenge you face becomes a training session for your confidence. It is also important to celebrate progress. Not every win is big. Some wins are quiet and private, but they matter. They show you that you are growing. They remind you that you are improving even on days when you feel stuck. Progress strengthens belief, and belief strengthens confidence. Confidence increases when you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison steals energy. It makes you feel behind even when you are moving forward. When you focus on your own path, your own growth, and your own rhythm, your mind becomes lighter. You stop feeling pressured to match someone else's speed. A powerful source of confidence comes from staying true to your values. When you act according to what you believe is right, you feel grounded. You feel aligned. This alignment gives you strength during difficult moments. It protects you from acting out of fear and helps you respond with clarity. With time, you begin to see that confidence is not loud. It is calm. It is steady. It does not shout. It does not rush. It does not try to impress anyone. It simply guides you through challenges with a quiet belief that you can figure things out. When this belief becomes part of you, problems feel less scary. Mistakes feel less personal. Uncertainty feels less threatening. You trust your ability to learn, adapt, and move forward. And that trust is the foundation of true confidence. Real confidence also grows when you learn to trust your own process. Everyone learns at a different speed. Everyone grows in different seasons. When you stop rushing yourself, you allow your mind to absorb lessons properly. Confidence becomes stable when it is built slowly, not forced quickly. Another helpful part of confidence is learning from your mistakes without fearing them. Mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signals that you are trying, learning, and moving. When you see mistakes as information, not judgment, your fear of taking action reduces. You start seeing challenges as practice instead of danger. Confidence also increases when you keep promises to yourself. Even small commitments matter. When you say you will do something and you do it, your mind begins to trust you. This trust becomes inner strength. It tells you that you can rely on yourself in difficult moments. It helps to remember that confident people are not free from doubts. They simply choose not to follow those doubts. They focus on action instead of fear. They take the next small step even when the whole path is unclear. This approach keeps their mind steady and prevents hesitation from taking control. Another way to build confidence is to manage your environment. Surround yourself with voices, habits, and routines that support your growth. A peaceful space strengthens your thinking. A supportive environment strengthens your motivation. When your surroundings help you, confidence grows naturally. Confidence also comes from clarity. When you know what you want and why you want it, your decisions feel easier. You stop doubting every move. You stop questioning your progress. Clear goals guide your energy and protect you from distractions. This clarity helps you stay focused even when the situation becomes difficult. Staying consistent is another key factor. Confidence is built through repetition. When you show up again and again, even on slow days, your mind becomes stronger. You learn to trust your effort. You learn to rely on your discipline. This consistent effort slowly creates a deep inner belief that you can handle whatever life brings. One more powerful source of confidence is gratitude. When you notice your strengths, your progress, and your small victories, your mind becomes more positive. Gratitude reduces pressure. It brings attention to what is working instead of what is missing. This shift makes you feel capable and grounded. Over time, you begin to carry yourself differently. You think with clarity. You act with purpose. You speak with calmness. You make choices from a place of strength instead of fear. And in this state, confidence stops being something you chase. It becomes something you live. Chapter 8. Staying calm when life gets messy. Life does not warn you before things become chaotic. Some days change suddenly. Plans fall apart. People disappoint you. Problems appear out of nowhere. In these moments, staying calm seems difficult, but calmness is the very thing that helps you think clearly and move forward with strength. The first step is accepting that chaos is a natural part of life. No one lives without challenges. No one moves forward without facing uncertain moments. When you accept this truth, stress loses some of its power. You stop fighting the moment and start focusing on how to handle it. Calmness begins with your breathing. When life becomes messy, your breath becomes shallow. Your body becomes tense. Your mind becomes loud. Slowing your breath sends a signal of safety to your system. It tells your mind that you are not in danger. It reduces panic and brings balance back into your thoughts. Another helpful step is grounding yourself. Look around you. Notice where you are. Notice what is real. Chaos in the mind often feels bigger than chaos in reality. When you bring your attention back to the present moment, the pressure reduces. You stop imagining worst outcomes and start understanding what is actually happening. It also helps to handle one thing at a time. When everything feels messy, the mind tries to solve everything at once. This creates confusion. This increases fear. Breaking the chaos into small steps makes the moment easier. One step brings clarity. Another step brings direction. Slowly, the mess becomes manageable. Another part of staying calm is controlling your inner dialogue. In stressful moments, the mind creates negative stories. This will go wrong. I cannot handle this. Everything is falling apart. These thoughts increase panic. Replace them with simpler, steadier thoughts. I will take this slowly. I can figure this out. One step is enough. This shift brings strength. You can also reduce chaos by protecting your energy. Not every situation needs a reaction. Not every comment needs your attention. Not every problem needs immediate action. When you choose your responses carefully, you save emotional strength. You stay more balanced and less overwhelmed. With practice, you learn that calmness is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to stay steady inside them. You begin noticing that your mind becomes clearer when you do not react quickly. You start making decisions from stability instead of fear. You move through difficult moments with a quiet strength that grows over time. Eventually, you develop a calm mindset that stays with you even when life feels unpredictable. You understand that chaos does not define you. Your response does. And with a calm response, you find clarity in moments where others feel lost. Staying calm also means giving yourself permission to slow down. Many people panic because they feel they must fix everything instantly. But urgency often comes from fear, not from reality. When you allow yourself a moment to breathe, you create space for wiser choices. Calm decisions are almost always better than rushed ones. Another helpful practice is keeping your attention on what you can control. In messy moments, the mind jumps to everything that could go wrong. It tries to predict every outcome. It imagines problems that have not happened. This increases panic. But when you gently return your focus to what you can do right now, order begins to return. One small action can change the direction of your whole day. It also helps to avoid feeding negative thoughts. When the mind is stressed, it searches for more reasons to worry. It connects small issues to bigger fears. It exaggerates simple problems. When you notice this happening, step back mentally. Tell yourself, this is just a thought, not reality. This simple reminder protects your peace. Another way to stay calm is by lowering your expectations during difficult moments. You do not need to solve everything perfectly. You do not need to stay strong every second. You only need to take the next steady step. Progress in chaos is not about speed. It is about stability. When you release the pressure to perform, calmness grows naturally. You can also stabilize yourself by creating small points of focus. Choose one task, one conversation, one responsibility. This limits the mental noise. When your attention is scattered, chaos feels bigger. When your attention is focused, the situation becomes clearer. Your body also plays a role in calmness. Tension in the body increases tension in the mind. Relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Sit or stand with a softer posture. These small physical changes signal the mind to slow down. A calm body helps create a calm thought pattern. Another powerful skill is knowing when to step away. Some moments require distance. A few minutes of quiet can reset your emotions. When you step out of the situation, even for a short time, your thinking becomes sharper. You return with more clarity and less pressure. With practice, you begin to trust your ability to stay balanced. You realize that chaos passes, stress fades, hard moments soften. You see that you can carry yourself through difficult days without losing your center. This belief becomes a source of strength that stays with you in every challenge. In the end, calmness is not something you search for outside. It is something you build inside. And when you build it consistently, life becomes easier to navigate, even when it is messy. Chapter 9. Creating habits that solve problems automatically. Many problems in life become easier when your habits support you. Good habits reduce stress, save time, and protect your peace. They create structure in moments when your mind feels scattered. When your habits are strong, you don't rely only on motivation. You rely on systems that guide you even on difficult days. The first step is understanding that habits shape your thinking. When you start your day with calm actions, your mind stays more balanced. When you start your day with pressure, your mind becomes restless. Simple habits like slow breathing, quiet moments, or planning your next steps create stability. Stability makes solutions easier to find. Another helpful habit is keeping your surroundings organized. A messy space creates a messy mind. When your environment is clean, your thoughts become clearer. You make decisions faster. You feel more in control. This small habit has a big impact on emotional balance. A powerful habit is breaking tasks into small steps. When you divide your responsibilities, the pressure reduces. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You start feeling capable. Small steps create progress, and progress strengthens your confidence. This habit turns big problems into manageable actions. It is also helpful to build habits that protect your energy. Avoid unnecessary arguments. Limit negative conversations. Reduce time with draining people. Your energy is valuable. When you guard it, you stay emotionally steady. This steadiness helps you handle challenges more calmly. Another effective habit is reflecting on your day. Ask yourself what went well and what needs improvement. This simple review helps you understand your patterns. It shows you what supports your peace and what disturbs it. Awareness turns into wisdom, and wisdom turns into better choices. You can also develop habits that calm your mind quickly. A short walk, drinking water, pausing before replying, stepping outside for fresh air. These small actions reset your mood. They prevent overthinking. They create mental space in moments you need it most. Another important habit is setting boundaries with technology. Constant notifications keep your mind active and anxious. A few quiet moments away from screens help you think clearly. When your mind is less distracted, it becomes easier to focus on real solutions. With time, these habits begin to work automatically. You don't think about staying calm, you become calm. You don't think about organizing your day. Your habits guide you. You don't think about emotional balance. Your habits protect it for you. Habits do not remove problems, but they make you stronger, clearer, and more prepared. They help you face challenges with confidence instead of panic. And slowly, they turn your daily life into something easier to manage and more peaceful to experience. Strong habits also help you stay steady when emotions rise. When your routine includes moments of calm, your mind learns how to return to balance quickly. This ability protects you from reacting too fast or making decisions you later regret. Habits give you a quiet sense of control in moments when life feels unpredictable. Another powerful habit is preparing for your day before it begins. A few minutes of planning reduces stress. You know what matters. You know what can wait. You know where your energy should go. This clarity saves you from rushing and from the confusion that often leads to problems. A clear plan brings a calm mind. It also helps to build habits that support emotional strength. Reading something positive, writing down your thoughts, practicing gratitude. These small actions shift your focus. They keep your mind away from unnecessary worries. They remind you that not every moment is as heavy as your thoughts make it feel. Developing a habit of pausing before responding is one of the most important skills. A short pause stops emotional reactions. It gives you a moment to choose your tone and your words. This habit improves relationships, reduces conflict, and helps you communicate with clarity instead of frustration. Another helpful habit is simplifying your decisions. When you reduce unnecessary choices, your mind becomes lighter. You save energy for the things that truly matter. Simplicity creates mental space, and that space allows solutions to appear more easily. It is also important to make rest a habit. Many people think rest is a reward, but it is actually a requirement. A tired mind overreacts. A tired mind overthinks. A tired mind loses focus. When rest becomes part of your routine, you think more clearly and handle challenges with greater stability. You can also build habits that remind you to check your emotional state. Ask yourself during the day, how am I feeling? This awareness prevents small stress from becoming bigger stress. It helps you adjust your pace. It helps you protect your peace before it slips away. With time, these habits become part of who you are. You act with clarity without forcing it. You stay calm without trying too hard. You make thoughtful decisions naturally. Your mind becomes more organized and your emotional energy becomes stronger. Good habits do not remove all problems, but they reshape the way you deal with them. They reduce confusion. They reduce stress. They reduce fear. They create automatic patterns that guide you toward better choices every single day. Chapter 10. Becoming a solution-focused person for life. Becoming a solution-focused person is not about avoiding problems. It is about changing the way you respond to them. Life will always bring challenges, but your mindset decides how heavy those challenges feel. A calm, steady mind sees possibilities. A stressed mind sees barriers. The goal is to train your mind to look for the next step instead of the next fear. The first step is shifting your attention. Whatever you focus on grows. If you focus only on the problem, you feel trapped. If you focus on even one small action, you feel stronger. This shift does not need force, it only needs awareness. When a problem appears, gently guide your attention to what you can do right now. Another part of this mindset is staying flexible. A solution-focused person does not freeze when the situation changes. They adjust. They explore other options. They accept that not everything will go according to plan. Flexibility keeps your mind open, and an open mind finds answers faster than a rigid one. It also helps to reduce emotional noise. When your emotions are loud, solutions become harder to see. Taking a few breaths, slowing your thoughts, or stepping away for a moment helps more than pushing through stress. A quiet mind thinks clearly. A clear mind sees paths that were hidden before. Another important skill is asking better questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I do with this?" Instead of asking, "What if this goes wrong?" ask, "What is the next small step?" These questions change your direction. They move you from fear toward action. It is also important to stay consistent. A solution-focused mindset is not built in a single day. It grows through repeated choices. Every time you choose calm over panic, clarity over confusion, and action over avoidance, you strengthen this mindset. These small choices add up quietly, but they change your life in meaningful ways. Surrounding yourself with the right influences also supports this mindset. Positive conversations, peaceful environments, and encouraging people help your thinking stay clear. Your surroundings shape your thoughts more than you realize. When you protect your environment, you protect your mental direction. With time, you begin to notice that challenges no longer control you. You no longer jump to the worst-case scenario. You no longer panic at the first sign of difficulty. You approach problems with a steady heart and a focused mind. This steadiness becomes your strength. A solution-focused life does not mean a life without problems. It means a life where problems no longer overwhelm you. You trust yourself. You trust your ability to handle what comes next. And with that trust, you move forward with confidence and clarity. Living with a solution-focused mindset means you choose direction instead of confusion. Every challenge becomes a chance to understand yourself better. Every setback teaches you something you did not know before. Instead of feeling blocked, you begin to see movement even in difficult moments. This mindset slowly becomes a natural part of who you are. One powerful habit is reminding yourself that progress often comes quietly. You won't always notice the change immediately. Some growth happens in your decisions, some in your patience, some in the way you control your emotions. Over time, these small improvements build a stronger, steadier version of you. Another important idea is that you don't need to solve everything alone. Sometimes clarity comes from asking for support. Sometimes it comes from a conversation. Sometimes it comes from listening instead of forcing answers. A solution-focused person understands that guidance is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is also important to stay connected to your values. When you act from your values, your choices feel meaningful. You stay grounded even when the situation is unstable. Values guide you like a compass. They remind you who you are and how you want to respond. This keeps your thinking clear when emotions rise. A solution-focused life also requires letting go of things that no longer help you. Old fears, old habits, old stories you keep repeating in your mind. When you release what is heavy, you make space for new strength. You make space for better decisions. You make space for calm thinking. Another part of this mindset is celebrating your resilience. You have survived difficult days. You have handled situations you thought you couldn't. You have kept moving even when life felt heavy. These moments are proof that you can grow through anything. When you remember this, your confidence deepens. As you continue this journey, your reaction to problems changes. You pause instead of rushing. You think instead of panicking. You act with purpose instead of fear. This calm response becomes your natural state. Problems feel lighter because your perspective is stronger. With time, you begin to trust the process of life. You understand that not everything will be perfect, but everything can be handled. You see that every problem carries a lesson, and every lesson carries growth. This understanding brings peace. A solution-focused mindset does not remove challenges. It simply gives you the strength, clarity, and emotional balance to rise above them. You move through life with quiet confidence. You stay steady in uncertainty. You trust your ability to find a way forward. And when this mindset becomes part of you, life feels less chaotic and more meaningful, because you no longer wait for circumstances to change. You change your approach, and that change transforms everything.